He tore out the soul of manhwa enthusiasts. That is how some longtime webcomic fans describe the sudden wave of unexpected announcements swirling around the upcoming slate of manhwa adaptations set to arrive in 2025. It started like a hushed rumor, but soon enough, it sparked fiery online debates as the seeds of speculation grew into full-blown confirmation. The manhwa medium, once a niche haven for a small circle of adventurous comic readers, is modernizing in a massive way and threatening to shake up every corner of the anime community. The question, of course, is straightforward yet monumentally important. Are these new adaptations destined to become the next solo-leveling success story? Or will they flounder like those earlier, well-intentioned but ultimately underperforming shows that left so many viewers underwhelmed? Today we are going to unravel every thread of this sprawling tapestry. We are zooming in on the swirl of hype, digging fast and deep into the dazzling new wave of manhwa-based anime meant to explode onto screens in 2025. And we will talk about all the big names: Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, The Boxer, Teenage Mercenary, and Eleceed, among several others waiting in the background. We will examine exactly what the studios are preparing, how fans worldwide have reacted so far, and whether these projects can truly match the high bar once set by the unstoppable phenomenon known as solo leveling. You will discover bold narratives, dark fantasy realms, post-apocalyptic joys and horrors, heartbreakingly realistic sports stories, and the promise of a fresh creative spark that might just sweep thousands of new fans into the fold. But is this entire development as rosy as it sounds? There are, indeed, whispers of skepticism. Concerned voices wonder if lightning can strike twice in a field already dominated by well-known juggernauts, and they fret that certain adaptation teams might water down the intense emotions that bristle in the original manhwa pages. In this episode, we intend to tackle those concerns head-on. Strap in, because we have your guide to a year that could very well change the way we talk about and appreciate manhwa-inspired anime. By the end, you will have heard behind-the-scenes insights, intriguing contrasts between one project and another, and real talk about what you can expect from these fast-approaching releases. If this is the kind of deep dive you have been craving, then you are in for a treat. Let us bound straight into the rousing avalanche of details that define each upcoming show. At the same time, if you find yourself nodding along or suddenly remembering your own manhwa reading days, feel free to show some love by tapping that like button or sharing this story with your fellow fans. That simple gesture might help others discover their next big obsession. Let us rewind for a moment to look at the manhwa medium's journey. For years, manhwa was overshadowed by the older sibling known as manga, entrenched in mainstream pop culture with colossal titles you have probably heard of 1,000 times. Manhwa found a modest online following, but it rarely ventured beyond a small, devoted group. Then, almost like an unexpected thunderclap, solo leveling arrived. Suddenly, the entire ecosystem changed. Solo leveling brought out a dark fantasy flair, easy-to-grasp role-playing game mechanics, and a protagonist's unrelenting climb that resonated with countless readers. The art was cinematic, the pacing swift yet immersive, and the sense of escalation so addictive that it pulled in newcomers who had never cracked open a manhwa in their lives. With that single project, the typical anime-only audience discovered that manhwa was far richer and more varied than they had ever imagined. In the aftermath, several other series attempted to ride the wave. Tower of God soared onto streaming platforms, only to stumble somewhat in delivering the tricky complexities that made the original such a beloved webtoon. Meanwhile, the beginning after the end arrived in anime circles with big ambitions but inconsistent momentum, never quite capturing the ephemeral spark that the best manhwa stories possess. Yet, in the wake of those partial failures, the industry did not back down. Instead, it doubled down. Now, a cluster of fresh, promising titles sits ready to carve its own place in the pop culture landscape of 2025. It is not a minor event. It is expected to be an industry-wide shift that might well shape the next few years of anime content. If you are feeling that unstoppable rush of curiosity, you are absolutely not alone. A massive community of fans is waiting, with bated breath for a lineup that includes both established hits and lesser-known gems. So, let us peer into the details of exactly which titles are about to land, and why each one is worth your precious time. First up is Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, a phenomenon that has made waves in multiple formats, from the original web novel that reeled in countless readers to the visually striking manhwa adaptation that captured an unmatched sense of dread and excitement. This story plunges us into a deadened, world-shattering scenario where a beloved novel titled 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse suddenly comes to life, flipping unsuspecting office worker Kim Dokja's entire environment upside down. Because he has read this novel in full, Kim Dokja has inside information that could be used to dodge lethal pitfalls or manipulate critical events. This premise teases a labyrinth of moral grays. You watch as Kim Dokja grapples with the ultimate question of what is permissible when your survival, and indeed the survival of your entire world, depends on secret knowledge not meant for the many. The year 2025 will not merely give us an anime version of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Marvelously enough, a live-action adaptation is in the works too, rumored to premiere around midsummer, specifically in July of that same year. A short teaser of about 32 seconds has made the rounds, offering glimpses of the post-apocalyptic angle, the gritty action sequences, and the cast members stepping into these complicated roles. While fans are equal parts excited and anxious about how well the adaptation will sync with the source material, the general consensus is that if done right, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint might match or even exceed the worldwide mania that solo leveling once inspired. After all, the story here is not just about leveling up or stacking monstrous powers. It delves into explosive betrayals, conflicts of interest, and the subtle differences between being the author of a fate and the one living it. This leads us to the second major project, The Boxer, a sports-themed manhwa that is injecting a darker mood into what might otherwise be a straightforward boxing drama. If you have never heard of The Boxer before, let me assure you, it is far from your ordinary sports tale. The story revolves around a hollow-eyed protagonist named Yu, who initially exhibits no interest in life or in forging friendships. Everything changes when a legendary boxing coach called K recognizes Yu's extraordinary, almost unnatural potential. Yu transforms into a fierce competitor who picks apart his rivals with a disquieting calmness, driving fans to wonder whether he cares for victory or for anything at all. Beneath those stoic glances lies an unanswered question. Is there a glimmer of warmth in Yu's soul, or is his life doomed to remain a vacant shadow of the lonely struggles that shaped his childhood? Studio X-Torm, being a newcomer in the business, has taken up the challenge of animating The Boxer. The excitement is vibrant, but so is the apprehension. Given the gritty nature of the manhwa, the adaptation's success hinges on how faithfully the atmosphere transfers onto the screen. The original series excels at making you feel the weight of every punch, the tension in every labored breath, and the silent battle in Yu's mind. It rings a sense of foreboding that many readers find addictive. Will a relatively new studio be able to convey the emotional and physical intensity so integral to The Boxer's charm? Fans remain cautiously optimistic, especially as rumors swirl that a 12-episode format has been planned for a probable release in 2025. Plenty of readers are convinced that if the anime captures even a fraction of the dread and fascination at the heart of Yu's story, it could become a sleeper hit. The stage is set for heartbreak, triumph, and raw competition. And who knows, perhaps after the end credits roll on the final episode, it will have redefined what a sports-based anime can accomplish. Now let us switch gears from the boxing ring to the deadly realm of teenage Mercenary. This manhwa, known as Mercenary Enrollment in some places, has soared in popularity since its 2020 debut, rapidly climbing to the top of ranking charts in multiple regions, including triumphs on platforms that track digital readership around the world. Its premise follows Ijin Yu, a former child soldier who yearns for a normal life after enduring a traumatic decade in mercenary warfare. When fate leads him back to his homeland where he reunites with his long-lost family, it becomes a fish-out-of-water story, filled with surprising warmth, tragedy, and the menacing echoes of a blood-soaked past he cannot entirely shake off. Fans lauded Teenage Mercenary for weaving an oddly wholesome dynamic into a dark, action-laden setting. On the surface, you might think you are just getting a typical high school drama interspersed with over-the-top fight scenes. But the narrative has undertones of survival, solidarity, and loyalty that grip the heart. The protagonist's quiet struggle to blend into society resonates with anyone who has felt like an outsider. Word has spread that Teenage Mercenary is eyeing a release in 2025, though the exact timeline is still shrouded in a bit of mystery. Furthermore, no official word has confirmed which studio will be tasked with bringing these intricate characters to animated life. But the hype is real, as many believe that a skillful approach could see Teenage Mercenary lining up as a new fan favorite. Some even go so far as to call it a potential underdog champion, capable of surprising the entire worldwide anime community with a refreshing spin on themes of forced isolation and reintegration into everyday life. Moving on, there is Eleceed, the brainchild of writer Sun Jae-ho and artist Zena, an unlikely star that has soared far past many people's initial expectations. Fans of Noblesse may appreciate Sun Jae-ho's unique brand of storytelling, which seamlessly fuses comedic elements, intense battles, and a focus on the importance of friendship. Eleceed does all this while introducing an awakened world brimming with individuals who hold all sorts of incredible abilities. Yet, one of Eleceed's biggest lures is the interplay between the snarky, caring mentor Caden, who, in an odd twist, is trapped in the body of a cat, and the wide-eyed, earnest Seo Ji-woo, a main character whose gentle persona does not in any way detract from his readiness to get stronger. Though no official air date has been nailed down, it is widely rumored that Eleceed also sets its eyes on 2025 for its grand anime debut. Why the fuss? Well, Eleceed has a captivating sense of humor woven into every confrontation, a swirl of magical or psionic powers that reveal themselves in dynamic bursts of action, and an ensemble of side characters who each have distinct motivations and personalities. At the same time, the broader, more philosophical question of how strength should be used underscores many of the arcs. The bond between Ji-woo and Caden is warm and borderline familial, giving watchers space to laugh, cheer, and worry all at once. For some, Eleceed is the perfect encapsulation of everything that manhwa can bring to the table. High-stakes conflict served alongside emotional exploration, comedic relief, and a focus on companionship that does not devolve into hollow platitudes. Along with these four behemoths, smaller titles are quietly emerging as well, though perhaps not all of them are measured for that same kind of global spotlight. Some revolve around futuristic, dystopian plots, reminiscent of big names like Alice in Borderland or Squid Game, set in bizarre, game-like scenarios where survival is not guaranteed. Others deliver slice-of-life comedic threads or fantasy-laced romances. The significant revelation here is not that manhwa can replicate the formulas found in typical manga or Western comics, but that it can do so with a layer of cultural nuance and a roller coaster of fresh concepts that keep viewers on the edges of their seats. The spectrum of upcoming projects is proof positive that manhwa is no fleeting trend. You might be wondering, if these stories are so amazing, why the push to adapt them all in the same year? Industry insiders suggest that Solo Leveling provided the impetus for a wave of corporate-backed expansions into the manhwa sphere. There is a sweet spot that studios want to hit, a moment when interest is high enough to guarantee robust viewership, yet not so saturated that prospective fans feel burned out. 2025 appears to strike that perfect balance, a year that could define the next era of anime consumption. However, cynics point out that we have been here before. The possibility of stumbling is always present. Adaptations of web-based comics sometimes cut corners, omit crucial storylines, or fail to capture the delicate emotional arcs that make the stories so memorable. For instance, the beginning after the end was criticized for skipping essential details that caused confusion for newcomers. Tower of God faced a similar conundrum, leaving out entire layers of nuance regarding its labyrinthine cast. But this time around, fans sense a deeper commitment from production teams. Closer partnerships with original authors, more elaborate pre-production planning, and a surge of talented voice actors who are themselves fans of the source material might provide the missing ingredients that earlier attempts lacked. So, is this the big turning point where manhwa is recognized on the same level as manga, or is it too soon to say? Both optimism and wariness color the conversation, but the drama of that dynamic keeps fans glued to every new trailer release, every leaked storyboard, and every social media post from the creative teams. If you are as thrilled by this as the rest of us, consider hitting the subscribe button so you do not miss out on upcoming breakdowns of new episodes and exclusive behind-the-scenes developments. In the realm of adaptation, the transition from page to screen is never a guaranteed triumph, but the sheer variety of upcoming manhwa shows suggests that at least a few of them will surpass expectations. For instance, Omniscient reader's Viewpoint merges existential tension with the explosive fervor of a leveling up scenario, a surefire magnet for a wide demographic. Meanwhile, The Boxer taps into a primal physicality that could enthrall sports fans and action connoisseurs alike, especially if combined with high-caliber animation. Teenage Mercenary infuses the formula with poignant human drama, reminding us all that behind every action hero might lurk a genuine trauma survivor who aches for normalcy. Eleceed, on the other hand, can bring comedic relief, vibrant battles, and camaraderie to lighten the heavier tones found in certain other manhwa series. This synergy of different flavors and moods is precisely what might catapult manhwa to new popularity heights when they truly sink their teeth into mainstream anime audiences. Interestingly, analysts also foresee a ripple effect beyond just these singular productions. If the 2025 adaptations rake in strong streaming numbers, rake in enthusiastic social media chatter, and spark fresh fan art communities, we might witness a newfound faith among major anime studios that manhwa adaptations are indeed the next frontier. In time, that could see deeper investments in lesser-known works, many of which are just waiting under the radar to be discovered by a bigger audience. It could herald longer seasons, more experimental storytelling, and adaptation teams that are eager to expand the manhwa world in ways we cannot yet imagine. The big picture is a tapestry of possibility. One overarching question remains: which adaptation will come out on top? Will Omniscient reader's Viewpoint become the valedictorian of them all, or might Teenage Mercenary's more grounded approach resonate more solidly with international viewers hungry for a twist on the action genre? Could The Boxer be the sleeper champion, weaving its unique brand of darkness into viewers' hearts? Or does Eleceed's combination of comedic camaraderie and real danger present the perfect gateway for newcomers? Whichever show you are rooting for, you cannot deny that anticipation runs at a fever pitch, as countless fans are already debating these outcomes online, dissecting leaked images, and replaying that small drip of official trailers in slow motion, looking for clues. In the end, the best advice for fans, skeptics, and curious newcomers is to give each adaptation a fair shot. The success or failure of any single manhwa adaptation will reverberate far beyond that specific property and might shape the trajectory of webcomics and mainstream media for years to come. The best approach is to watch, compare, and maybe even dive back into the original manhwa to see how changes have been handled. If a given adaptation falls short, at least you will have discovered a storyline that you can savor in its original webtoon format. And if it exceeds your expectations, you might just find yourself championing the unstoppable rise of manhwa to the rest of the anime-watching world. As we draw near the end of this deep dive, let us remember how we started, with that startling notion of manhwa's soul being ripped out, only to be resurrected in new forms that will hopefully do justice to the medium's boundless creativity. The path forward is lined with potential missteps, yes, but also with exhilarating possibilities. Ultimately, 2025 promises to be a year that will not only reshape the business deals and strategies behind animation, but also forge fresh connections between fan communities around the world. This is the time when the stories we once treasured in digital pages might burst into living color and dynamic sound for millions of first-time viewers. Whether you are here for the psychological depth, the nerve-wracking action, the sly comedy, or all of the above, there is every reason to believe something in next year's slate will speak to you on a personal and lasting level. So, take that step. Get ready to see manhwa in an entirely reimagined light. Get hyped for the unstoppable wave of new series. And, if you are as excited as I am, do not forget to drop a friendly thumbs up to let everyone know you have chosen your side in the ongoing hype war. 2025 is drawing closer each day, and from the look of it, manhwa-based anime is gearing up to be a powerful contender in the global entertainment arena. Prepare for the unexpected, brace yourself for thrilling content from these upcoming titles, and remember, this story has only just begun.